here on the latest development. A divided front it is, but we're just wondering what the practical implications could be for the NDC now.
Good afternoon. And can you take the question again? I missed it.
Yes, so I was just pointing out how divided the NPP seems to be now in terms of the selection of the new leadership in Parliament. I'm looking at the possible implications now, practically speaking.
Well, obviously, any division within a party, it doesn't bode well for a meaningful democracy internally. So I'm sure they should be able to rise up to the occasion and mend their differences, because in unity there is strength. So you need to be able to be united in order to prosecute your agenda and have power.
But then you have close to 66, right? Or 70, if I should point it that way, in terms of number of NDC MPs who are asking for the decision to be reversed. They say that the future would look bleak for the NDC in terms of the 2024 elections if nothing is done now. Hello, Doc. It appears we're having some challenges there. But, Doc, if you can hear me, I was just asking about the numbers of NDC MPs who are then making this passionate appeal, asking the Council of Elders to intervene. And that's why I want to pick up your thoughts on the numbers that we're dealing with. This is just not a case of 1, 2, or 3 NDC MPs, but you have well over 60 MPs. It appears we've lost connection to Dr. Asa Asante. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be back. Welcome back to The Pulse. Apologies there for the faulty connection to Dr. Asa Asante. He's back on with us. But for those of you who haven't heard by now, there's a divided front for the National Democratic Congress in terms of the selection of the new leadership on the minority side in Parliament as we speak. Of course, a delegation led by the national leadership of the party itself, and this incoming crop of leaders, Dr. Casey Latofosin, together with some other members who are going to serve now as the new front of leadership for the NDC, heading to the Speaker's residence for an interaction. We're not clear what may transpire there, knowing that over 60 NDC MPs are calling for the reversal of that decision. We're monitoring all of that for you, and we'll bring you updates shortly. I want to bring back Dr. Asa Asante. Doc, we missed your point there when I was asking about the practical implications on the party, the NDC, which is seeking to come back in 2024. Some say it's a done deal. Just forget about the victory, regroup, and maybe after 2028 you could come back better.
Oh, it's early days yet. I'm not sure this is a big problem. It's a storm in a teacup. Yes, though I don't support the procedure that was used, but I believe the party has a duty. That duty is to reposition itself and win power. Now, the divided front that they have, it is in their own interest to mend their differences and forge ahead. Those who are not happy, I can understand them. It's not easy to be, booted out of office like that. But let us remember that the party has a duty, and its duty is to win power. So it is all part of their program to bring all hands on deck and work together and support the new leadership. Any other grievances that they have, they should continue to channel it to appropriate institutions within the party. But if they have any feeling and that they want to do anything to undermine the leadership of Parliament, it is going to affect the general interest of the party, which I'm not sure, if you listen to their statement very carefully, they still love their party, except that they have problems. Problems are bound to come, but when they come, people must muster courage and deal with them head on. So I think they will work on that and then give the new leadership that space, that power, and that support so that they can all work together and salvage their own party and then prosecute at the end of 2024.
And for the very first time, we're seeing one of the affected individuals, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, come out publicly He's saying that it appears that there are some challenges, fundamental flaws with even the letter that's been written to the Speaker now.
Yeah, the challenges are there. Definitely they will come because feathers have been ruffled, so you can understand. But let us look at it this way. Is it in their interest to undermine the very system that is going to help them to articulate their views clearly at the national level in Parliament, or they want to salvage the interests of the party? That should not be a dilemma. There should be a straightforward decision to support the party and move on. Any other differences can be discussed and then dealt with, in no time. But the corporate interest of the party is critical. My worry is that I don't understand why people are not prepared to accept the fact that, yes, once you are put in a position, a time will come that the position can be taken from you by appointing authority. That appointing authority which appointed you and you were so happy can disappoint you. And when that comes, you must be able to take it in your stride and move on. But if you want to rock the boat, I'm afraid you will all suffer the consequence thereof.
Well, I'm just wondering what's at stake for the likes of Haruna Idrisu, who is described as someone who has a firm, grip over his own constituency, Tamale South. It's not as though he's losing the next elections. What do you think? What's your outlook on that?
I'm not sure he will lose the next election because Haruna is a very strong person. Let us remember that he has performed creditably in Parliament, distinguished himself as a true MP, loyal to his party, dedicated to the service of an NDC and Ghana and the rest of them. There's no doubt in my mind that this exercise that the party is carrying out is an effort to undermine him or to, as it were, throw away what he's achieved over the years. No. So, and he's very strong in his constituency. So all these things are there. But at this point in time, the party said this is the direction they are going. Remember that before they come into office, they also kicked some people out and brought them in. Right. That process will continue to come until the coming of Christ again. So people must brace themselves for that and prepare. I'm sure Haruna is so much experienced that these things he can put behind him. Muntaka, I'm sure he has seen this thing time and again, and it's not going to come to him as a surprise. All that they need is to help the new leadership and move on. And then the new leadership also have a duty, a role to play. The role is to be able to extend an olive branch to them, bring them closer to the table and work with them. Try to deal with some of the pain and then move on. And they shouldn't be seen as people who lord it over their people. They should maintain the collegiality and they should be able to maintain their focus and posture so that at the end of the day, the interest of the party will be served. That is all. But if they do anything otherwise, I am afraid they will have their fingers bent.
Dr. Asante, you'd want to hold on for us at this moment because we're getting some feed coming through from the Speaker's residence, where I indicated earlier that the national leadership of the NDC is currently at. My colleague, Kweku Asante, parliamentary correspondent, joins us now from that venue where that engagement is underway. Kweku, what can you report?
Some vehicles just arrived here at the Speaker's residence, made up of the team from the minority leader, his deputy, the Chief Whip, Governor Kwame Agboja. They are set to have a meeting with the Speaker of Parliament to introduce themselves, and also as someone who is said to be a party stalwart, to have some conversation in terms of how they will be able to deal with this deepening friction within the NDC. We've been covering this extensively. We just also heard from Muntaka Mubarak, Kletu Savoka, who say that they do not recognize this decision from the party. Muntaka says he's a member of FEC, he's a member of NEC, he's an observer at political committee and also at the Council of Elders of the party. At no point has such a decision been taken, and so he's surprised that Atoforsen and Co are carrying themselves as minority leader and minority chief whip, among others. But it appears Atoforsen and his team are completely going about their business as new leaders of the minority caucus. They have just arrived here at the residence of the Speaker. They are going to hold some closed-door talks with Speaker of Parliament Aban Bagbin to first introduce themselves, to work out the modalities, how they are going to work as the new minority front bench, and also seek some advice and guidance as to how they will be able to maneuver these difficult periods within the NDC, both in Parliament and outside of it. So quite some hectic hours expected to come, with this meeting expected to last for some hours. For now, I can confirm if Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the party, and Chairman of the party, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, are coming with the leadership. The vehicle I saw that of the Chief Whip, Gavins Kwame Agboja. I saw that of Dr. Kesela Toforsen. I've seen the vehicle also of the Deputy Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim. But I do not know yet if the leaders of the party, the persons who have taken the decision that have brought the party to this level, today themselves will be in this meeting with the Speaker, Blessed.
But then, do we know the approach this engagement will be taking as to whether or not this is a formal introduction, or perhaps a little more work is needed in convincing the Speaker, who's also a member of the NDC, not necessarily to accept, because he does not have that constitutional mandate, as many argue, but at least to try and get him on board as a critical stakeholder going forward for the NDC?
Indeed, the Speaker is such a crucial part in all this puzzle, because he would have to recognize the leadership. If he's in Parliament and says he doesn't recognize someone as leader, it will be difficult for them to work. Although, constitutionally and by way of the standing orders, the Speaker of Parliament has no such powers. One is the party, and the standing order says the minority leader is the person designated by the party in opposition. And the party in opposition in NDC have designated Dr. Kesela Toforsen as the new minority leader. Ordinarily, the expectation is that the Speaker is expected to play ball. He's expected to recognize this person as the leader of the minority caucus. But you will need this person to be able to go about some of the things you do in Parliament. So we understand that this meeting will be more than just introducing them, because, well, the Speaker of Parliament knows Toforsen, he knows Agboja, he knows Ahmed Ibrahim, he knows every member of the team. It's already been written to officially to communicate this. And so in terms of knowing who these persons are exactly, he's aware. So this meeting will just be more than familiarization. It will be more than a meeting to introduce this new crop of executives, but to judge about how they will be able to bring together on board all these people. There are at least 65 NDC MPs who have written a petition to the Party Council of Elders, copied former President John Mahama, seeking a reversal of this decision. You need someone as influential as Aban Bagbin to try and see if he can convince one or two persons to try and bring everyone on board to be able to deal with this choppy waters that the NDC would have to navigate in the past few weeks. We know that as of this morning, there was supposed to be a caucus meeting of all 137 NDC MPs. The new minority leader said he wanted to stay that decision. He wanted to consult with broad base and the broad powers within the party, and he's doing so now. What he wants to do is to consult everyone, and then next week, Tuesday, he will meet his colleagues. It will be very interesting to see what happens next week, Tuesday, whether he'll be accepted and whether even these 65 people will turn up and recognize him as the minority leader. So, Blessed, we expect that the Speaker of Parliament will be invited today in this meeting to bring his influence on board to try and navigate all the issues that the NDC would have to deal with, to try and talk to Haruna Idrisu, to talk to Muntaka Mubarak, to talk to Cletus Avoka and others, to try and say that, try and deal with these issues. But clearly, as we have seen since morning, there is that clear division within the party. First, from Dr. Toforsen and his team, who held the press conference insisting, without saying much, that they are the leadership of the party. And this afternoon meeting in Parliament that involved more than 50 MPs, then followed with a press conference addressed by no less a person than a former majority leader, Cletus Avoka, minority leader, minority chief whip, former, and also the former deputy attorney general, Dr. Dominic Ayene. So a lot is expected to happen in the coming days and in the coming hours in terms of how the powers that be within the party will broker this deal, which could make the NDC as they prepare for the 2024 elections.
On the itinerary, do we know if the new leadership will be moving to the residence of John Mahama He's the 2020 presidential candidate of the NDC. Any confirmation on that?
Indeed, his name has come up very strongly in all this that we have been speaking about. Indeed, the press conference that was addressed by Cletus Avoka and the minority chief whip said that they were also petitioning the office of the former president to intervene. So he is such a big player in all this that is happening. Indeed, we've heard already allegations that have been made that he may have been the one who instigated this change of leadership. Fifi Kwete, speaking to a sister station and also speaking to us, said that the former president had been consulted and his input taken on board in this new decision to change leadership. And so former President Mahama has some role to play in all this. It is not clear yet if this team are going to meet him, but my understanding is that even if they are going to do so, it is going to be off the books. There's not going to be any announcement that the new leadership are going to meet the former president. It is not even clear if they have already met him, sought his blessings and granted them same, and also advised them as to how they should go about this new role that they have assumed. And so clearly the former president would have to go into some discussion with the new leadership. It may be that that meeting has already happened, or may also well be that meeting is about to happen. But sources close to the new leaders say that even if that is going to happen, it will be off the books. There will be no such communication to the public or to the media. Maybe afterwards, a release will be made as to what the outcome of the meeting with former President Mahama was.
Parliamentary correspondent joining us from the Speaker's residence. Dr. Asante, let's wrap up on this conversation. And I was just leaving on that point, talking about the former President John Mahama. What's his influence here, and where do you expect that he will stand in all of this?
That as a former president and then leader of the party, will be able to speak to them so that who else will prevail. But I'm not sure he will be able to do much to change the decision of the party. I'm not sure. From where I sit, I can see him do very little. Yes, as a former flag bearer, he has a great influence within the party. He will speak, but the party decision will remain. But in all this, I will urge NDC people that the path they've chosen by writing to the appropriate quarters within the party, that is the way to go. And then in the course of that, they minimize the havoc that they would do to themselves by, be measured in their language and be tempered so that things they say against themselves will not constitute the building blocks for electoral campaign against them. Think this thing should be sent to them clearly so that in all these things, they remember that they have their party intact, that whatever differences that they have, when they resolve, they will not have the trouble of dealing with their past, which is the shadow that will haunt them.
Anyway, I would have to leave it here. Dr. Asante, I'm grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us here on The Pulse.